Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we are talking about the rules and key dates for the Overwatch League. And upcoming things like that. So, we did the same video like this last year heading into 2019. I'm going to say 2020 because it's on the screen. Heading into 2020, we have a similar thing. Now, the difference is there's no, exception for expansion teams to sign players. There's no expansion teams this year. But there is some upcoming big things, including players from contenders and academy teams and things like that. So, the way that this works is September 30th, 2019, the day after the finals in Philadelphia. The signing window opens for teams to exercise team options on existing player contracts, negotiate extensions with current signed players, or sign players from their affiliated academy teams competing in contenders. So, of course, everybody knows contenders is the lower level to Overwatch League that's competed throughout the regions of the world. You see teams in America, Europe, Asia. It's broken down more, but things like that. And all or a majority of the teams do have the minor league teams, and they can sign the players from that. And of course, I believe every player had a 2-year contract coming in the league with a potential 1-year extension. Team, right? I don't know. Team options. Every team has a team option. So, the really good players will have their team option accepted. And then, if you want to extend a player. So, say, New York Excelsior's like, you know what? Jonak's super dank. Let's give him, $1 million to sign and play on our team for 5 years. You can do that. Because I think there's no limit on it now. There was for the first 2 years. You had to be signed to 2019. But I think the limit's off. So, yeah. You can go and sign your current players to an extension or accept your team options. Negotiate with the players that are on your team. And your academy team. You can do that and get whoever you want that's currently within your system, whether it's on your top team or your minor league team. October 7th, teams have completed that have completed existing or declining. Oh, exercising. Okay, teams that have completed exercising or declining all existing contract options must submit free agent player contracts to the league for approval. Teams also submit player trades. So, assumably, the way that this works is a team can say, we accept or decline your option, or we want to trade you. And then a team has to say, these players are available. Then on November 11th, 2019, the 2019 season officially ends the agreements. That's how all leagues end. They don't end on the official day. They have a month or two after where they officially end. So basically, if any player is not under contract for the 2020 season after November 11th, they're officially free agents. But they kind of know on October 7th if you're available or not. So it says in order to facilitate these player signings with new teams before initial roster deadline, those players set to become free agents in November are permitted to discuss contracts with other teams before their 2019 contracts formally expire. So basically, it's tampering, and you're allowed to do it. Basically, tampering, for those of you who don't know, is when you talk to other teams and other players, try to get them to come to your team, or you try to go to their team when you're signed to a contract. So, since the players are technically on a contract until November 11th, I'm sure once they become free agents around October 7th, they'll have about a month to discuss. Because November 15th is the deadline for all teams that have a minimum of 8 players under contract. And teams can sign or trade players until June 15th, 2020. So, yeah, that's the way that it works. So, you would have the requirement of having 8 players. You're required to have a whole starting roster, of course, and then 2 bench players. So you have to have 8 players on your team. You can have 8 the whole season. You have between 8 and 12, but you have to have 8 by November 15th. Also, players born on or before June 15th, 2002 are eligible to sign Overwatch League contracts for the 2020 season. So, if you're born in 2002, that would make you 18 in 2020. So, that's wild. Seeing people born in 2002, like, I was born in 1999, so I was, a couple years ago, it was like, oh, this is something that people born in 1999 are eligible to do now. You're 18, but now to see it's like 2002, it's like, what? It's only a couple years different, but it's still wild to see. That's like, it'll definitely be weird when it's like 2004, 2005. Years that I sort of like actually remember stuff from. That's when it will get very interesting to see. But yeah, so players born basically before the deadline. So if you're born June 15th or before 2002, you're eligible to sign, because you have to be 18 to play, but you can be on a roster or signed to a roster and not be 18. We've seen that with a lot of the players from San Francisco last season. They were not 18 yet, so they could not play until their birthday. But yeah, Contenders has the similar rules from the last year. So, Contenders has to be capped at 8 players. Overwatch League must reach out to all Contenders players to arrange trials and negotiate contracts. Signing Contenders players are subject to payment of a buyout fee made by the Overwatch League team to the Contenders team. So, basically, if you want to get a player, you got to buy out the roster, which is something that we've seen a lot when Overwatch League started. Either they bought out or changed the team. We even see that with like Vancouver Titans. They were all runaway in Korea, and the whole roster got bought up and became Vancouver Titans. Very similar concept here. You have to buy out the contract. Yeah. It says, in 2020, Contenders teams affiliated with an Overwatch League organization must compete in the same geographic region as their parent team to be eligible for an academy team. If an Overwatch League team does not wish to operate a Contenders affiliate, if an Overwatch League team wishes to operate a Contenders affiliate in a different geographic region, they must do so subject to the meaning. They may do so subject to the following qualifications. The Overwatch League organization must have meaningful local infrastructure in place. The Overwatch League organization will not receive academy team benefits, including but not limited to exercising the right to match player contract offers. Teams that previously held academy team status in terms of the region may have grandfathered academy team rights for a limited window of time. So basically, you have an academy team right to sort of compete in the academy, compete in that competitor's region, because they're minor league teams, so they get that benefit of being locked in. They don't have to earn it, because again, they're the development team, so they kind of have to. So yeah, you can play in different regions. So I wouldn't be surprised if you've seen a team like New York's team or London's team or Vancouver's team, if they have one. I don't know if they do. Maybe playing like Contenders Korea if they want to keep a Korean roster. But yeah, that's what you have to see, because I know the players have to play in their thing. Their region. Contenders Academy teams must be affiliated with Overwatch. Contenders Academy teams that are affiliated with Overwatch League organizations may negotiate right to match. Clauses guarantee the parent team the right to match any offer from a competing Overwatch team who wishes to sign a Contenders Academy player. So that's basically, what do they call it in basketball? restricted contracts or things like that, you can match it. Kind of like restricted free agent. You can get offers, but the team can match it and accept it if they want. So if a team says, we'll pay this player $500,000, let me give team examples. Seoul's contender team has a player that New York wants. New York can say, we're going to pay this player $500,000, come join us. Seoul can say, we can match that. But they have to be on their contenders team. If a team chooses not to match, they may be entitled to receive a buyout from a competing Overwatch League team. So, it says the matching period is limited to 7 days from the date of the initial contract submission to the league office. So basically, if New York says we want your player, Seoul has 7 days to say, yeet, we're going to take that contract. We also have the two-way players, which is again something that we've seen in Overwatch this year. I don't really know if anybody used it, but something we did have. Again, this is something very similar to NBA with the G League teams. It's not something they have in like basketball, or not basketball, in football because they don't have minor league teams. And it's not something they have in baseball because you can just call up or send players down whenever you want between your minor league system. So, 2020 season will introduce the evolution of the two-way player contract to incorporate player and team feedback for 2019 season. So basically, you can take and sign a player to a contract that says you can play in contenders and you can play on our league team. Teams and players may negotiate the right to designate a player that's eligible to be an affiliated contenders team. Any player on the roster may agree to be eligible for contenders play, but a maximum of 4 players may be designated as two-way players at any given time. Two-way players are eligible to compete in contenders subject to the following rules. Regardless of where they play, two-way players count towards the Overwatch League roster. So no matter what, you're technically a player on that team. So Seoul, again, Seoul's the example because that's the team that I like. Seoul has 12 players. 2 of them can play on their contenders team, but they still count as Seoul Dynasty players, even if they're playing on, what is it called, Gen G Esports? I think that's what it's called. I don't know. Yeah, they're playing on Gen G Esports. It's a terrible name. So unless somebody's failing to say Genji. Which I know is the meme about that name. Yeah, so it counts as... Two-way players also count towards the 8 contender player roster limit for weeks in which their contenders team designated them as eligible to compete. So, you have to have 8 players on your roster in contenders, and that's the cap, I believe. I don't know if there's a limit saying you have to have 8 or 6, but... Well, you don't have to have 6, but I don't know if it's said you have to have 8 at all times. So basically that player counts towards the Overwatch League roster all the time. And if you're on contenders, you count as a contenders player at that time. Designated two-way players will lose their contenders eligibility for a 60-day period if they appear in more than 2 Overwatch League matches within 30 days. That period of ineligibility begins and resets upon the player appearing in their 3rd Overwatch League match within a 30-day period. Any two-way player who competes more than 50% of their team's total maps played in the 2020 Overwatch League season will be ineligible to compete in contenders during the off-season period. So, again, Seoul Dynasty example. Ray Jae-hong plays most of the maps. He can't play in contenders. It's kind of the way that works. They can't just send your stars to contenders to win. You can send, like, you know, a bench player, somebody you're developing to be a star. But you're not going to send your star players there. You're not going to see Ryu Jae-hong or Fleta, you know, in contenders. A maximum of 4 two-way players may compete in a single contenders match, an increase from 2-player cap this year. After competing in any Overwatch League match, two-way players are ineligible to compete in contenders match the following week. If a player competes in Overwatch League on Thursday, he or she cannot compete in contenders until the following Thursday. Kind of makes sense. Two-way players may compete in contenders prior to the start of the 2020 season. If those players are Overwatch League rookies, or if those players competed in fewer than 2 Overwatch League matches in Stage 4 of the 2019 season. So yeah, big changes here to the two-way system. I think they really want to get that to be used more. Which I feel in 2020 will get used more. Because again, the players have to play for their team in their region. So it's a disadvantage to the teams in Asia and the teams in Europe to use a two-way system. Because if you play in contenders at the moment, and if you're playing in Korea or China, you gotta fly to Los Angeles. You know, or if you're playing in, if you're one of the teams in London or Paris, you have to fly to Los Angeles, which is a longer trip, bigger decision than, you know, if you're playing Atlanta, New York, whatever. If you're with that group, it's a little bit easier to just say, come to LA, when if you're in a different continent. So I think it'll be a little bit easier with a lot of games happening closer to home for all these teams. That they'll be able to sort of integrate the rosters a little bit easier. Plus, again, if you're saying, hey, you're playing in Korea or you're playing in China, come to LA, and you play one map, that would be kind of a big waste of a trip. If you come and they're like, hey, let's put this guy in on Numbani, and then you come out. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to sort of see maybe the integration a little bit more now that the teams will be playing a little bit closer to home or at home. They'll be able to integrate a little bit easier. Again, with the league being so big, like across the world wise, I think that's the disadvantage to it. Where again, we have teams in America where the minor league teams are close. I live relatively close to a minor league baseball team. Now they're like really like low down league. They're like single A or below, but they used to be double A team. They were the double A team for New York Yankees, and then the San Francisco Giants. That's what they were before. So you know, you can fly from Connecticut to California or to New York. You don't have to fly anywhere, you can just drive. But if you say, come from Seoul to Los Angeles, or come from Shanghai, or come from London to Los Angeles, it's a little bit more of a trip. Especially if you're going to play for 10 minutes. So, I think in 2020 we will see a little bit more of this. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys in the next one.